I think in 5 years max, we're going to have pornographic material completely by AI, which is very scary because we're going to have trained AI knowing exactly the thing to trigger you to buy that material and waste hours of your life. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Peace and blessings upon you. Welcome to episode 58 of the Thoughtful Banter podcast. I am your host, Matthew, without my co-host today. This is going to be a quick episode. If you're new to the channel, I just want you to know that most episodes have me and my co-hosts, and they look a lot better than this. But this was an emergency episode. So, Bismillah. Casual sex is destroying masculinity. It is destroying the very fabric of our culture, of our nation. And we have all of these, I don't know where the ideas are, maybe liberal ideas that are telling us this is a good thing. We have these men who are depressed, who are chasing this game. Now, sexual gratification is probably one of the biggest motivations for young men. So young men are playing this game, and all young men are playing this game. But the way they're playing the game of sexual gratification is that they're chasing after the baddest junk they can find, right? They're chasing after the girl who they think is the most beautiful, the most provocative, and they're finding ways to impress her. They'll add her on Snapchat, they'll add her on Instagram. They'll try to play the mind games. They'll try to incorporate some poetic riz or whatever. They'll go to a couple parties. They'll get drinks. They'll do some drugs. And maybe after some point, if they're lucky, they'll impress her. They might get a one-night stand. They might get a couple of dates. Best case scenario, they have a short-term to medium-term girlfriend. And that relationship might last 1 to 5 years, give or take. And then what happens? They get bored of each other. There is no prior planning to the relationship. They actually have no values in common. They're just attracted to one another. But that attraction is dwindling because the way that they started out the relationship in itself, the way that the fire even began for one another, started from such a place of degeneracy that they don't understand how to even keep the fire going in a real committed relationship. One person might cheat, or it just falls apart. This is like what's really common right now. On the other hand, you have these men who aren't really interested in that kind of dynamic, or don't have the confidence for that kind of dynamic to go out talking to a group of girls, going to a party, being sociable, etc. And they're in their rooms watching huge amounts of pornography, incessantly destroying their brains, literally corrupting their minds, having all these sick, twisted images of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of other people's bodies in their minds. And now their confidence is destroyed, their expectations are unrealistic and destroyed. And they're becoming disgusting, gross perverts. And this is why this is one of the reasons why I think Islam has so much to offer to us. Because Islam is not one of the religions that preaches for us that sexuality is bad. Islam does not value being celibate forever. In fact, if celibacy can be avoided, in Islam, it is recommended to not practice celibacy. The only requirement Islam has for us to engage in sexual behavior is for us to be in a marriage. It's very simple. Why? Because a marriage is a framework to act accordingly, and it's a building block for society. And all of these other models where you see sexual behavior being done, all the other models that aren't marriage are ultimately destructive for society. It's destructive for everyone else. You have these people who are preaching like this honestly really degenerative behavior of swinging, of one-night stands. And honestly, all that people are going to get from that is an empty hole in their chests and STDs and broken families. And masculinity is completely abolished and destroyed under those models. And I think Islam provides a good masculine model for men, because what happens when you pursue marriage? What does marriage require versus the one-night stands? If you're realistically going down the one-night stand route, what's needed on your skill tree? All right, on the skill tree is probably, social skills, some social confidence. Okay. Being attractive, even though if your social skills are maxed out as a man, being attractive almost doesn't matter. If you're a very obese guy and your riz is off the charts, everyone's seeing it. But just having social skills, being cool, and being attractive. And then, oh wow, you're sleeping with girls. Boom. Okay, what about for marriage? Social skills are needed. Being attractive is needed. But emotional intelligence is needed, which is a way more important skill long-term in life. Financial stability is needed, which is way more important than the first two things, right? Like being in control of your dominion, being an adult, having responsibilities. And marriage is harder than these other relationships, but you get so much more out of a marriage. All these other relationships make a hole in your chest. But when you're married and when you're actually in a loving, supportive, long-term, permanent relationship, you grow as a person. You're able to move out of this childlike state of these dopamine rushes. New girl, new guy, new girl, new guys. All haram. It's terrible for us. It's not good for the human condition. And people might disagree with exactly what I'm saying right now because I'm talking about it from an Islamic lens. But the people who might disagree with that because I'm talking about it from an Islamic lens, if I were just to say, wow, I feel so empty from one-night stands, they would agree. They would agree. The only time people have something to say against what I'm saying right now, honestly, in my opinion, is when people have a negative connotation with religion. Forget what I'm saying right now for religion. Let's forget I'm Muslim. Let's forget I'm a Muslim podcaster. Let's just say what I'm saying right now. Do you honestly think that these one-night stands are going to bring any benefit to society? No. So also, another reason why these relationships harm society is think about every single person involved in these relationships. When you're going around and you're sleeping with these girls, all these girls are going to be someone's mother someday probably. If you're breaking all these hearts, if you're making it harder for these people to be in other long-term relationships because of the comparisons that you're creating for them, you don't think that's making a chain reaction? Think of how many children are born without having their fathers around because their mothers just slept with one guy and they don't know who the guy is. Do you think this model is conducive to anything productive? I truly believe people who are preaching this lifestyle to men or women, they don't want the betterment of human society. Being in a marriage, being committed, being monogamous is hard, especially in a society that preaches the opposite. But we all know in our hearts that this kind of lifestyle is actually the path. And I don't think it's a coincidence that amongst all major religions, this is an agreement. And even going beyond major religions, in any culture, it is seen as disdainable. A father is not happy. A mother is not happy to see their daughter be pregnant and not know who the father is. It's dishonorable. Because what are we going to do? Who's going to look after this baby? Who's the model for this baby boy? Who's going to protect this baby girl? I don't know. Let's give this kid up to an abortion clinic. Let's give this. Let someone adopt this kid. Like it's just the kid's fault. Then that child, if they're not aborted, that child grows up without parents, without guidance, and they might fall into the exact same trap. That boy might have other children, or that girl might have other children without caring for the spouse. And it's a cycle. It is a cycle. And it is destroying humanity. And it's so insidious how it's all connected. We're constantly being fed. As Westerners, we're constantly being fed pornographic material. Even if it's not quote unquote porn. We have pornographic material in movies. Because we know it will increase the retention rate of the male audience. We're going to throw the scene in the movie that has nothing to do with the plot. But you know what? The lady is naked. So we made a terrible movie, but guess what? They're going to watch it. And we're going to get our money. This is sick. So what are we doing with ourselves? What are we doing as a society? How is this allowed? How is this okay? And then if you look at the statistics of sex trafficking is a billion dollar industry. We're just hearing, and right now we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, all this stuff. Jeffrey Epstein is the pimp for all of these CEOs, presidents, politicians, big game shifting people. And it's all connected because all of us have these sexual desires. And these desires are used to manipulate us. And the path set before us by Allah isn't to say sex is bad. Isn't to say, no, we don't need this in our lives. Isn't to demonize it. But the path is to practice what God's telling us to do. The path is to get married. Be in a committed relationship. Lower our gaze. And again, I'm not saying I have the keys, man. I am not perfect. Don't look at me and think I'm I know. I know I'm not perfect. But I'm just saying. I look around. I think the guys are going to get destroyed. Now we have AI coming in. We have AI coming in. And what's it going to do with porn? I think in 5 years max, we're going to have pornographic material completely by AI, which is very scary because we're going to have train AI knowing exactly the thing to trigger you to buy that material and waste hours of your life. And soon we're not going to be satisfied by real relationships. Just like in Blade Runner, when Ryan Gosling is looking up at the girl on the screen, and the real life lady is hitting on him, but he doesn't like her because he only wants the artificial intelligence, because she's artificial intelligence, bro. She can switch her outfit and look like that. She knows exactly what you want before you even know it, because she's a computer. She's a computer trained off of hours of your responses. And if that takes place, what's going to happen to our birth rates? So this is like an endless cycle of us getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And the only solution for us right now is to be better, is to change, is to get ahead of things right now. I'm rambling for too long. I wanted to talk about this for 10 minutes, but I could talk about this for hours. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Thoughtful Banter. It's been a pleasure. I will see you guys next time. make sure to check out the Patreon. Please subscribe because we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. And I'll see you guys next time. Salam.